Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled you're here today because, well, we're looking at a moment in time that is completely unprecedented in the history of the beautiful game. We are zeroing in on June 2026. You see, this isn't just your standard off-season, and it definitely isn't just a regular tournament summer. It's a massive, continent-spanning collision of events all happening at the exact same time. From the absolute peak of international glory over in North America to the absolute sheer chaos of the club transfer market back in Europe, the scale of world football right now is just staggering.
Okay, let's dive into this. What actually happens when the biggest World Cup in history crashes head-on into club football's wildest summer? Normally, the football calendar gives us a chance to breathe, right? A manager gets sacked, a window opens, and then maybe a tournament happens later. But definitely not this summer. Right now, as the biggest World Cup we've literally ever seen is kicking off, the club ecosystem is simultaneously exploding with high-profile sackings, frantic negotiations, and billion-dollar market shifts. It's this wild dual reality, and it is absolutely fascinating to watch it all unfold.
To make sense of all this chaos, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the summer of 2026 overall. Second, Amorim's fall and rise. Third, the transfer market opening. And finally, the biggest World Cup.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, the summer of 2026.
So I really want you to think of this summer as one giant ripple effect. Football is, at its very core, driven by individual human drama. A frustrated manager, a broken promise in a boardroom, a tense dressing room. These tiny micro-events create ripples. Those ripples force managerial sackings, and those sackings, they force clubs to dive headfirst into the transfer market to rebuild. And right now, all of those high-stakes club rebuilds are happening exactly as the players they desperately want to buy are stepping onto the pitch at the World Cup. The tension is just incredible.
Moving right along to Section 2, Amorim's fall and rise.
Let's move to and see how this builds over time. Just look at the absolute roller coaster Ruben Amorim has been on over the last 2 years. In November 2024, he arrives at Manchester United from Sporting CP, basically heralded as this ultimate tactical savior. But by May 2025, his first season ends in bitter disappointment, losing the Europa League final to Tottenham. The tension really boils over, and in January 2026, after a pretty dismal 1-1 draw with Leeds United, he gets sacked. But, as we know, football moves fast. Fast forward to this very month, June 2026, and he's already been unveiled as the brand new manager of AC Milan.
38.1. That right there is the brutal win rate percentage from Ruben Amorim's 63-match stint at Manchester United. In the ultra-high-stakes world of elite club football, a number like that is basically a death sentence for a manager's tenure. It perfectly encapsulates exactly why that ripple effect we talked about began in the first place.
To really put that 38.1% into perspective for a second, before arriving in England, Amorim managed Sporting CP for 208 matches. He achieved a staggering 75.6% win rate there and brought home multiple Premier Liga titles. The guy was a literal phenomenon. But at Manchester United, managing just 63 games, he only managed to secure 24 wins. The stark contrast between his incredible success over in Portugal and his disastrous English campaign shows just how insanely quickly a club's fortunes and a manager's reputation can shift.
So what actually went wrong? Well, neutrally reporting the facts from the sources, they paint a picture of immense, behind-the-scenes friction. Tactically, he rigidly stuck to his 3-4-2-1 formation, which the squad clearly struggled to adapt to. This led to some highly publicized fallouts, probably most notably with the young star Alejandro Garnacho, who ended up being dropped for that pivotal Europa League final against Spurs, which again, United lost. Behind the scenes, the pressure was immense. There was even an incident where a frustrated Amorim actually broke a dressing room television, which, is never a great sign for squad morale. But the real final nail in the coffin was his public criticism of the United board over broken transfer promises back in January 2026. That 1-1 draw with Leeds the day before his sacking, that was just a breaking point of a relationship that was already completely fractured.
All right, on to Section 3, the transfer market opens.
So, the crucial point is that Amorim arriving at AC Milan doesn't just happen in a vacuum. It signals the frantic opening of the global summer transfer window. Think about it. When a manager like Amorim arrives with a highly specific system, like that rigid 3-4-2-1, the club can't just use their old squad. They have to go out and buy entirely new player profiles. We're talking specialized wingbacks, highly specific ball-playing center halves, the whole shebang. Meanwhile, Manchester United, having just fired him, now desperately needs to clear out those exact same players to fit their new manager's vision. One single tactical shift like that instantly creates billions of dollars of potential movement in the market. The dominoes are officially falling.
And as those dominoes fall, the major European leagues are absolutely bracing for the chaos. The windows for the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, and the Bundesliga are all springing into action at the exact same time. Interestingly enough, the sources also note a specific deadline rule change in the Scottish Premiership this summer, which really highlights that the very mechanics of the market are constantly shifting beneath our feet. The clock is relentlessly ticking down. Every single club is now in a desperate race against time to scout, negotiate, and sign players before that window slams shut.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 4, the biggest World Cup.
104. That is the total number of fixtures happening at the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Remember, we have expanded to 48 teams now. This is an unprecedented scale for any international tournament. Spanning across the United States, Canada, and Mexico, the sheer volume of football happening on this stage is nothing short of staggering.
And it creates this amazing, almost jarring contrast that completely defines June 2026. On one side, you have the club chaos. It's cutthroat. Managers like Amorim are getting sacked over broken promises. Sporting directors are ruthlessly negotiating contracts in stuffy boardrooms. But then, on the exact same days, you have international glory. 48 nations uniting, massive crowds packing stadiums across North America, all driven by the pure, romantic pursuit of the ultimate trophy. And it is all happening simultaneously.
And this brilliantly illustrates the relentless pace of the summer. I mean, the tournament has already kicked off. On June 11th, we actually saw Mexico and Korea Republic secure victories in their opening matches. The group stages are basically a marathon, but by June 28th, the intensity ramps way up as the knockout rounds begin. It's a grueling, spectacular schedule that will ultimately culminate on July 19th with the final in New York and New Jersey.
And just look at who is actually out there providing the spectacle. The names taking this international stage are absolute legends. You've got Lionel Messi leading Argentina as defending champions, Kylian Mbappé looking to conquer the world all over again with France, the incredible young talent of Lamine Yamal shining bright for Spain, and of course Cristiano Ronaldo still leading the line for Portugal. While clubs back in Europe are frantically fighting over signatures, stressing over formations, and ruthlessly balancing their books, these superstars are entirely focused on etching their names into immortality for their countries.
Which leaves us with this final thrilling question. Who will ultimately define this historic summer of football? Will it be a brilliant tactician like Ruben Amorim navigating the cutthroat club market to rebuild a giant in Milan? Or will it be one of those global superstars lifting that golden trophy in New York on July 19th? The tension between individual club careers and international immortality has literally never been higher. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your eyes on the pitch and definitely on those transfer tickers because this summer, it is far from over.
Welcome to the Explainer. We are diving into something today that, honestly, just doesn't happen very often on football's biggest stages. We're breaking down one of the most astonishing, jaw-dropping scorelines in recent tournament history. It's a match we're going to be talking about for years, not just because of the final result, but because of the absolute tactical and physical supremacy on display.
7-1. Seriously, just let that sink in for a second. In international football, especially at the World Championship level, matches are usually tight, tense, and super defensive, right? You expect 1-0 or 2-1 results. But a 7-1 blowout, it forces us to ask a fundamental question. How exactly does a team pull off this level of total, unmitigated dominance against a national squad on the world stage? Were they just getting lucky bounces, or was this a completely calculated dismantling?
Okay, let's dive into this. Germany utterly dismantled Curaçao. It's a finished match, forever etched in the record books. But that final score, that's really just the final chapter of the story. To truly grasp the sheer magnitude of what happened out there on the pitch, we have to look past the scoreboard and decode the match statistics. We need to look under the hood and see the engine that drove this machine. Section 1. Dominance by the numbers. Let's look at the underlying stats.
To really appreciate this performance, we've got to talk about expected goals, or XG. It's a predictive metric that filters out the luck and tells us the real truth about a team's attacking threat by measuring the actual quality of the chances they created.
And here is the absolute truth of this match. Germany generated an expected goals total of 4.00, compared to a mere 0.40 for Curaçao. Guys, that is a staggering 10 times difference in expected offensive output. But here's the real kicker. Germany didn't just score 4 goals, they scored 7. They massively overperformed their XG to punish literally every single mistake Curaçao made.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the sheer, relentless volume of the German attack. 26 total shots for Germany. That means they were firing off a shot almost every 3 minutes of the match. 12 of those were dead on target.
On the flip side, Curaçao could only muster 8 total shots, with just 2 actually troubling the goalkeeper. This wasn't a game of counterattacks, This was a full-blown siege.
And they sustained that siege through absolute ball control. Look at the possession, 65% for Germany. They completely monopolized the ball. When you're holding the ball for 2/3 of the match, the opponent is basically just chasing shadows out there. Germany completed a massive 551 passes at an 87% accuracy rate, compared to Curaçao's 280. But the most damning statistic of the whole shebang, big chances. Germany created 6, Curaçao created 0. It was total, suffocating control of the pitch from the first whistle to the absolute last.
Section 2. Timeline of the rout. Let's go goal by goal.
This avalanche started incredibly early. Just 6 minutes in, F. Emecha opens the scoring off a Wirtz assist. But hold on, Curaçao actually fought back for a second. In the 21st minute, Comenencia finds the back of the net to tie at 1-1. For a brief fleeting moment, there was hope. But Germany's response? Brutal and decisive. Schlotterbeck scores in the 38th minute, assisted by Brown, to retake the lead. And right before the halftime whistle, deep into stoppage time, at 45+5, Kai Havertz buries a penalty. It's 3-1 at the half, and Germany had effectively broken Curaçao's spirit.
If the first half was about taking control, well, the second half was about absolute destruction. Just 2 minutes after the restart, at the 47th minute, Jamal Musiala scores off a Kimmich assist, making it 4-1. From there, the substitutions just added fresh legs to the onslaught. And Brown, who grabbed an assist earlier, scores his own goal in the 68th minute, assisted by Ondaf. And then, they literally swapped roles. In the 78th minute, Ondaf gets on the score sheet himself, with Kimmich providing his second assist of the day. A 4-0 second half. They completely buried the opposition.
Section 3. Around the tournament. Let's look at the June 15th context.
Let's move to and see how this builds into the larger context of the day. Germany sent a massive, undeniable message to every other team playing on June 15th. When you look at the schedule right beside this result, you realize that all the other heavyweights warming up in their locker rooms were undoubtedly seeing this 7-1 scoreline flash across their screens.
Because the goals were absolutely flowing elsewhere too. Sweden put up a massive result of their own, dismantling Tunisia 5-1. Meanwhile, Ivory Coast played a much tighter, grittier game, squeezing past Ecuador with a 1-0 victory. But looking ahead to the rest of the day, we've got European giant Spain taking on Cape Verde, Belgium facing Egypt, and later tonight, Saudi Arabia squaring off against Uruguay. The tournament is in full swing, and the pressure on these upcoming teams to perform after seeing Germany's masterclass, unbelievable.
Which brings us to the ultimate takeaway of this explainer. We've seen the 7-1 scoreline. We've dug into that wild 4.00 XG, the 65% possession, the 26 shots, and a timeline of absolute attacking perfection. They didn't just win, they made a terrifying statement of intent. So I leave you with this provocative thought. With an attack this clinical and a midfield this dominant, how far can this German squad truly go in the World Championship? Are we looking at the inevitable champions, or did they peak too early? Thank you so much for joining me to unpack this historic match, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.